Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Future Forecasting Group. I'm your host, Sean, and I'm joined by our awesome remote viewing team. I have with me Dick, Daz, Edward, Naeem, and Derek. And today we're just going to be going through the hits that the team did for viewing their look ahead for world events in January 2025. Again, when we do these hits, it's really just the research that I do, helped by our subscribers and the links that they post in the comment section. And I just try to find the best matching stories that I can. But again, it's really just, you guys be the final deciding judge on whether or not you think it's a hit. But I always like going through and seeing what the team viewed and how the month unfolded and, what transpired and how well it matches. So let's dive in. Okay, so January 2025, we had all kinds of crazy stuff going on in the world. So for the corroborating hits, the team had peace deals, drones. Two folks had food problems. Big changes coming, and boy, have they ever. Explosions and deaths, a tanker spill or a sink. Something with burning batteries, which actually that was an interesting one that came out in multiple ways. We had an earthquake predicted and their Bitcoin predictions. Then, of course, we always have our individual non-corroborated hits that the team has, and we had quite a few here this month. So for the peace deals, we had Derek, Dick, and Naeem talking about, hey, there's, let's see, Dick had like a hostage deal being done, and Derek had Putin and Trump talking with some sort of a truce with Naeem here. And so we did indeed have hostages freed from Gaza, which is great. And the peace talks are with the ceasefires and stuff are transpiring. All that stuff is kind of out, but there is a lot of stuff happening in those areas. But I really wanted to highlight the hostage release ones. The drones were heavy in the news back then, and of course we had the drones in the news. Trump administration coming out saying that they were not the enemy; they were approved by the FAA. So. Still waiting for answers on that one, but there were a lot of drone stuff in the news for that month. I really didn't find anything on the food problems that were predicted. We had Derek talking about a possible mass poisoning event that was foiled. If you're aware of anything in that, I didn't see it in the news or the comments. And then there were food recalls last month, but nothing really huge that seemed like it was widespread here. So I'm not sure if this is yet to come to fruition. But yeah, big changes coming. We had both Derek and Naeem talking about that, and boy, have they ever. And in fact, here's our, one of the headlines from NBC talking about, how Democrats are struggling to keep up with Trump's dizzying pace because the changes are coming so fast. Let's see. We had explosions and deaths. We had that huge deal with the Cybertruck that hit the news, and I can't help but think that that's primarily what a lot of this stuff was talking about. A tanker spill. So we had the tanker hit by the rebels that threatened the Red Sea, and that was big news. Burning batteries. Not only did we have the Cybertruck, but there was also a battery factory in California that caught fire, and there were concerns about the environmental impact and the air quality. Earthquakes. So we had both Daz and Naeem talking about earthquakes here. And yes, El Salvador had a huge earthquake. It was like a 6.2, which is not a small earthquake. And for Bitcoin, the team was doing their predictions here. And I think, as always, they're fairly close. You guys be the deciding factor. Train crash. We had a woman killed when her vehicle crashes into a train, and Des drew an intersection, rode in a train. So, Supreme Court impacting Congress. I believe this is talking about the TikTok ban. It was upheld by the court. And that was something that was very controversial, passed by the legislature. And in fact, there's still kind of some stuff transpiring from that's going on right now. The Secret Service in a show of force. So Trump did have his elevated security for the inauguration. They even moved it inside, talking about the weather. But there was rumblings about it being more concerned for actual security reasons. So I thought that was kind of interesting. You had a TSA abuse of power. The head of the TSA and the Coast Guard were fired because of controversy with the different administrations and all that. So I thought that kind of matched. Again, you guys be the deciding factor. Stadium violence. Right after the Super Bowl, there was a lot of rioting out in poor old Philly. So I think that might be what this is, because you're talking about NFL-like, but it doesn't seem political. And I know it's a little bit further out from January, but the Super Bowl was a big event, and this was the biggest news that I could find that tied to this. And it did match. DC workers returning to the office. Yes, they did. And of course, we have our OPM directive here. Very tragic, but the plane that was the victim of the Black Hawk helicopter flying into air traffic control lanes was flying a skating team. And here's talking about the news talking about that. And Dick was talking about something with ice skating. Mideast dust storm. NASA's picture of the day was a dust storm out in the desert. And there wasn't a lot of stuff on dust storms, but it was in the news. So I wanted to highlight this one. A mass cold march. We had our protesters out in the bitter cold. And yeah, you have Dick here drawing them all bundled up, and they were. Foreign currency devaluation. A lot of stuff in the news about the Canadian dollar and other currencies dropping against the dollar right now, which is kind of interesting given the economy and all that, but I don't understand the global markets there. But yes, the global or the foreign currencies are dropping right now. This one's really interesting. So there was a divers discovering an ancient shipwreck that sank 2,600 years ago off the coast of Spain, and Dick was saying, hey, this looks like a shipwreck. It's not biologic. I didn't see Kim Jong-un in the news. Could still be coming, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Nothing yet. But you guys end up usually hitting these, just comes later. Emergency broadcast. I can't help but think that your flashing lights matched out in LA, the immigration protests, where they just had a wall of police vehicles, all of them with the sirens and lights going off. The other thing this could have matched was all of the sirens with the plane and Black Hawk helicopter colliding. But the footage from this just, to me, screamed this.
Well, yeah, what I saw on that was just like a TV screen with just flashing lights. And when the plane crashed, that was what I saw on the news. I was like, yeah, that's what I saw. Because the first video they had was just all the ambulances coming and police.
Okay. Yeah. They both match. They both happened in such close proximity to one another. But yeah. Let's see here. Aggression by China. Yes, indeed, they did. China's pushing the Philippines to the wall with their aggression in the South China Sea. So yeah, there you go, Edward. India-Pakistan border terror. Yes, there was. Amid incidents of cross-border firing and terror attacks, India and Pakistan hold a flag meeting at J&K. Now, Edward, I don't know if you had found anything on this, but I could not find anything with a star with rings or a halo. So this may be coming yet, but I hope it does, because this seems really cool. Taiwan incursion. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on with China and Taiwan. China's military drills around Taiwan are set to increase. And yes, there are stuff with our threat briefings that we're seeing. Avalanche deaths. Oh, here was another avalanche thing. I think you had this also for last month. And yeah, cause of deadly Colorado avalanche uncovered. And unfortunately, some poor soul lost their life. Just doing what they're loving skiing. That's sad. Former brawl in Parliament. I believe this is a African nation, but yeah, they had a formal brawl right there in the Parliament, and it's very similar to what Naeem sketched here. So nice view in there, Naeem. This one's really interesting. So Naeem had this like woman on the run, And it was kind of like, this is kind of crazy. How is this going to come into the news? Well, the Daily Mail did an expose on a woman who fled. She was accused of murders in both the United States and Mexico, but she lived quietly in a small Canadian town for nearly 50 years on the run. And so I just thought, isn't that wild that this kind of a story would come through? And he kind of had her kind of in the more old-fashioned clothing, the way that he had sketched her here. So I just thought that was interesting. Crime Stops. So a tearful New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez sentenced for 11 years for a brazen bribery scheme. And I just see the guy in the suit with the cuffs and his hands behind his back and the way that they had this story. And I just thought this had to be what Naeem was talking about here. But that's what I have for January. And again, you guys be the final deciding factor. But I had fun going through and seeing what the team had and how it matched up with actual news stories that transpired over the month. So any thoughts, guys?
I thought the biggest hit was Daz's very clinical description of the helicopter hitting the plane, which we highlighted that, but that was the big one for me.
Yeah, you guys just keep pulling them out of your hat every month. All right. Well,
there's so much out there. You put a net out, you're going to catch a couple things. It's just, interesting.
Well, as always, nice viewing, guys. And and thank you to our subscribers. Always appreciate your comments in the comment section when you pull up news stories that match what the team has for their viewings. And that helps me with my research and pulling these hits together. So again, I appreciate those. We'll catch you all next time, and thank you for joining us. Take care.